Can we welcome Yen, everybody? Yen's coming in to read. Can we welcome Yen, everybody? Come on, let's give it up for Yen.
This is Matthew 7, 24 to 29. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine, puts them into practice, is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the stream rose, and the wind blew and beat against that house. Yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears this word of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the stream rose, and the wind blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. When Jesus has finished saying these things, the crowd was amazed at his teaching, because he taught as one who had authority and not as their teachers of the law.
Morning, guys. Hi. Try and come up with a little bit of energy because it's freezing. So if I'm struggling to get my words out, that's why. But yeah, thanks, Ian. I don't know where you've gone. There at the back. Can we give her a round of applause? She's amazing. Perfect. So, guys, I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas and a very, very happy New Year. I feel very privileged to be the first one standing up here on 2026. I still can't believe it. But yeah, really happy to be here today. Today's message is called A Fresh Start That Lasts. Before we kick it off, the last week, Chris and I have spent in the Cambrian Mountains in Wales. If you haven't been, you will hear us talk about it non-stop. It was absolutely amazing. We absolutely loved it. But it was such a restful and joyful time away. We went with our sweet puppy called Lily, and yeah, it was just really, really lovely. It was really nice. But when we came back on the 29th, we went for a couple of extra days, more than we were expecting to. But when we came back, the first thing I did was basically walk into the house, grab all the Christmas decorations, and put them upstairs in the attic. I took the tree outside, and I was like, yeah, everything just needed to be clean. I was ready to start afresh. And I was talking to Matt about this, and Matt was like, Hayley, that's actually very controversial because the 29th is way too early. But you know what? Fair enough. Maybe it was just me. But this year I felt an overwhelming desire to start afresh. And amazing as the holiday was, I was definitely ready for a clean slate and a fresh start. At the beginning of every year, there's something in all of us that longs for a new beginning, a clean page. We tell ourselves, this will be the year I'll be more disciplined. This will be the year I read my Bible more. And this will be the year I finally get it right, whatever that might be for you. But let's be honest, many of our New Year's resolutions don't make it past February. And not because they're bad ideas, but because they're often built on willpower and not a strong foundation. So this year, what if our fresh start wasn't about trying harder or being perfect, but about building deeper and setting our foundations firmly in Christ? The beautiful thing about Christ's love is that it doesn't offer a fresh start just once a year. He offers it to us every single morning. Lamentations 3 says, because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. God doesn't offer us a fresh start just once. He offers it to us again and again. That is the power of the cross, a reflection of what we could never do ourselves. How many of us feel like we need a fresh start?
Not me.
God, full of mercy, sent his son to do it for us, to clean the slate, to give us a fresh start. The perfect man, fully man, and fully God. Okay, so we've already spoken about how New Year's resolutions often focus on behaviour. Do better, be better, try harder. But Jesus focuses on foundation. The reading this morning, which Ian did, which was Matthew 7, 24 to 29, Jesus tells a story of two builders. One builds on sand, and the other builds on rock. Both houses look fine until the storm comes. The difference wasn't the storm, it was the foundation. If we want a year to stand through the storm, not just looks good on Instagram, or starts off strong, we need strong foundations, not wishful thinking. So instead of asking ourselves, what do I want to change this year? Maybe the better question is, what is the foundation I want to build on this year? What I would love for you to take away this morning is that Jesus is the only foundation to build your life on. You might be thinking, okay, Hayley, that sounds great, but how do I actually do this? And where do I start? And it starts with here. It starts with a relationship with him. At the beginning, I mentioned that Chris and I had a sweet puppy called Lily, and she is the light of our world at the moment. She really is. But in the early days, especially when she was very young, she still is now, she was very hard to manage and, quite feral, to say the least. But she didn't understand how I communicated, and she obviously doesn't speak English, so I didn't know how she communicated either. I had to take time to get to know her, to learn who she was, what she needed from me, and how to love her well. That required patience and attention and time spent together. Relationship doesn't just happen automatically. It was built. It's exactly how it is with God. Our relationship with him begins with friendship and time. We have to slow down, be intentional, and simply spend time with him so we can learn his heart and understand his voice. We need time with him. It's not about attending more church events or consuming more Christian content or listening to your favorite podcast. Although those things are wonderful, that's not where our foundation is built. The foundation is formed in the quiet, mundane moments, alone with God, at home, in his word. And that's where the relationship begins. And I'm talking to myself here too. I know my personal experience of this is as soon as my life gets busy or a little bit stressful or anything like that, my quiet time with God is often the first thing to go out the window. But I promise you, it's worth it. It's worth waking up earlier or spending time with him before bed. I know it's hard for some of us in the seasons that we're in, with children who maybe don't sleep. And for you, it might look like praying whilst making your morning cup of coffee, or praying on the way to work in the busy traffic, or perhaps playing Christian music instead of your favourite playlist. Regardless of where we're at, the key is time with him. Relationship always comes before fruit, just as foundations come before beautiful buildings. When I moved to Exeter about 4 years ago now, one of the first places that Chris took me was Exeter Cathedral. And I absolutely love it there. It's great. I'm sure everyone has obviously been. If you haven't, please go inside. But the current building dates back to around 1114 AD. Honestly, that's massive. That's almost 900 years old. But imagine if its foundations weren't laid properly. If its foundations were weak, we wouldn't be able to stand in the awe of its beauty today. The same is true of Christ working through us. Without a strong foundation, a personal growing relationship with him, there is nothing solid for God to build on. The fruit we long to see in our lives can only grow from a relationship rooted deeply in him. Why is a personal relationship with Christ so important? Because we can't trust someone we don't know. And you can't follow someone you don't listen to. When we spend time with God, we hear his voice more clearly. We become more aware of his character. We begin to see life through his perspective. Time with him isn't about ticking a box. It's about anchoring your soul. And when the year gets busy and life gets noisy, that anchor matters. We're going to take a little bit of a pause there and have a bit of a breakout question, if that's okay. Maybe just break out into twos, or anyone in your rows. Maybe just discuss the question. What does time with God realistically look like for you in this season? And what's one small, sustainable way you could build it into your routine? And perhaps if you aren't a Christian, if you were to spend time with God, what would you hope to happen? So, the more time you spend with someone, the more you trust them. Trust isn't something that happens quickly, it's built over time, and often through sacrifice. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight." Trust grows when we remember his faithfulness, see him come through again and again, learn that his ways really are better than ours. And here's the key: trust always leads to faith. Hebrews 11:1 tells us that faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance for what we do not see. Faith isn't passive. Faith moves. It steps out. Having a foundation based on Christ alone means your life looks different to what it was before. Your priorities change, your habits change, and your behavior changes. When trust deepens, faith stretches. And when faith stretches, obedience becomes braver. Yeah. Suddenly you pray the prayer you were scared to pray. You say yes when God nudges you to move, and you take risk despite the cost. New Year's resolutions say, do this and change that, and then your life will be better. But having a firm foundation on Christ looks like trusting what Jesus has already done and becoming more like him. This is where the adventure begins. God has never called his people to a safe, predictable faith, but to a living, trusting, and obedient one. A fresh start with God doesn't just change your habits, it changes your direction. And I wonder whether we could do something we've never actually done before. I wonder if we can just all close our eyes, if that's okay. So ignore the distractions. I want you to think, where might God be inviting you to trust him more this year? I'll repeat that again. Where might God be inviting you to trust him more this year? Another question. What step of faith feels a little uncomfortable but obedient? You can open your eyes. As we step into this new year, let's not build on empty resolutions. Let's build on something eternal. In 1 Corinthians 3:12-14, Paul reminds us, if anyone builds on this foundation using gold, silver, costly stones, wood, hay, or straw, their work will be shown for what it is, because the day will bring to light. It will be revealed with fire, and the fire will test the quality of each person's work. If what has been built survives, the builder will receive a reward. Everything in this world will eventually fade away. And what we build on Christ, what is rooted in his love, his word, his truth, and his presence, will stand firm through every storm. Anything not built on foundations of Christ will perish. This is why it's so important to remember what we're building on isn't just about good morals or good teachings. It's the eternal foundation of Christ. His word, his love, his grace, and his presence.
will stand the test of time. And that's what will keep us firm, holding steady until the end of our race. So to conclude this morning, as we step into this new year, let's not build on empty resolutions. Let's build on more time with Jesus, more trust, more faith, and more courageous obedience. Because a year built on God won't just start strong, it will stand strong. Yeah. Whatever the storms come, and they will come. God isn't asking you to have it all figured out. He's asking you to build on him, one faithful step at a time. And this church, this is a fresh start that lasts. If you're able, would you mind standing? We want to start this year strong, with foundations based on him and him alone. I was wondering if we could just sing a song as a response to that. And then after that, we'll just leave some space for the Holy Spirit.